Good morning. January 12th, we're looking at Job 32 through 34. My name is Janice. We're kind of turning a corner here. Up until this point, we've been hearing from three of Job's so-called friends who have not really listened to him, but made their own assessment of his situation and are challenging him to stop being wicked and he'll be okay. And yet that's human reasoning. That's not how God functions, and it's not based on truth in this situation. However, in chapter 32, we meet a new friend named Elihu. This is a younger person who has patiently sat and listened to all of this discourse we've heard and is burning with anger at what he's heard because he sees that these friends have not answered Job's questions, have not really heard him. And so he begins to, address Job's friends in chapter 32, reminding them that, they don't know these answers and they're not really helping. In chapter 33, he turns to Job and he says, I am a man like you. I have this God's Spirit in me, and the Almighty gives me life, that El Shaddai. And he says, I want to address these things that you have brought up that no one else has tried to answer. So he begins with the question that Job has said in a roundabout way, is God unjust? Allowing all these situations, these pains to happen to me, why? Is he unjust? And Elihu is quick to tell him in verse 12, 33:12, you are not right in this, for God is greater than man. He's saying you don't have a place to ask God that, because God's ways are above your ways. And we know that God is not unjust. Another question that he addresses is, why has God been silent? Why hasn't he answered me? Going through this, it seems like I'm just going through it in silence. And Elihu answers by saying sometimes God speaks in dreams, and we know that dreams can reveal things that maybe we're not ready to face up front, but God can use them to open our eyes to turn back to him. But even in that, whatever trials we're going through, we can know, Elihu reminds Job, that God desires to preserve us, to pull us out of the pit. Sometimes he speaks to us through pain. C.S. Lewis talks about how pain is a megaphone that God uses to reach us, and that is true. It gets our attention. The challenge is, how will we respond to it? Will we be like Job's wife, who said, curse God and die? Or will we recognize we need to press into God and that we know him well enough to trust him through the pain? We don't trust those that we don't know. So part of the benefit of doing this, spending this time reading through God's Word, is to get to know him so that we will trust him more. Suffering can become a blessing to us if we turn to him as a result of it, and we give him all the broken pieces, and he's able to put it together in a new way that is even more beautiful, put our lives together in a new way that is even more beautiful. Chapter 34, Elihu is putting out a warning, really, to Job that he's starting to act in rebellion to God. He's in despair, and it's like he sees him beginning to turn away from God through this suffering. Now, if we remember back in chapter 1, Job is an upright and a blameless man, affirmed by God that is who he is. We also know that Satan had a purpose to try to get Job to curse God, and he hasn't done that yet. But Elihu is recognizing that he's starting to slip down that direction. And so he turns his attention. He reminds Job, you need to remember who God is. And so from verse 10, almost to the end of the chapter, of chapter 34, we see Elihu reminding Job that God is not unjust, that he is just, that he is not wicked, he hasn't forgotten him, but basically know that God is God. He doesn't have to answer to us. We can learn to trust him because he is worthy of our trust and he knows what's going on. He sets those boundaries of suffering. We know that he will not give us more than we can bear as we are in him, as he is bringing us through this suffering. And then Elihu closes with a warning to Job to not speak without knowledge or understanding or wisdom. That reminds me of Proverbs 2, verse 6, that says all of those are from God. We only have true knowledge and true understanding and true wisdom because God has given it to us. That is all from him. So may we seek him. If we're in a good time or if we're in a hard time, may we seek to know him more so that we can trust him more through those hard times. I hope this has been an encouragement, and I look forward to our study tomorrow. Thank you.